Hello and welcome to Wealthy Trades Daily for March 10th, 2015. If you are listening on podcast or YouTube, then this information is a few hours old. We post this in the afternoon. If you are listening on the wealthytrades.com media feed, then this information is pertinent information and it applies for today and it's actionable for today. It goes out before the market opens. There's a big benefit of being a subscriber at wealthytrades.com so you can get this information and actually act on it. Much like yesterday. All right, let's recap what happened yesterday. It was an interesting day. Apple comes out with some big news on their iWatch, and everybody gets excited, and it was a very much a sell the news type of event. In fact, I'm looking at Apple right now, pre-market on another screen, and it's down, about a 0.5%, and I think it's going to continue to get sold off. So that's going to be interesting for the market. And as I sit here now, we have the futures in the S&P 500 down about 20 points. So it's not going to be a great day today, or it doesn't look like it's going to start out to be a great day today. Yesterday was a good day, though. The S&P 500 was up about 8 points, or about 0.39%. That was coming off of Friday, which was a very bad day. It was a very ugly day. But it was actually a decent day for the wealthy trades traders because the quality of the market rolling into Friday, let's recap that, was below 50%. So therefore, we recommended a pairs trade. All right, so you would have been going long within the XLV, which is the healthcare sector, and you would have been going short within the XLU, which is the utility sector, and it would have worked out to be a phenomenal trade because if you remember on Friday, the utility sector got absolutely destroyed. Okay, that shifted us into a downtrend, and rolling into yesterday, we had a very high percentage of the stocks in the S&P in a downtrend. And the trend quality yesterday, all right, I'll get to today in a minute. The trend quality yesterday was above 50%. So you might be thinking, well, Tyson, if the trend quality was above 50%, then you were looking to short stocks and not do a hedge trade or pair them up, and you must have lost a bunch of money yesterday because the market was up, 0.4%. Well, the answer is no, that's not the case. That's not what happened, and let me tell you why. Yes, we were in a downtrend. More of the stocks were in a downtrend than in an uptrend, and the trend quality was, in fact, above 50%. But the best sector yesterday to short in was the utility sector. In the utility sector, we had 93% of the stocks moving in a downtrend. The utility sector, in the face of a huge rally yesterday, it opened at 43.51 and closed at 43.47. So yes, the market rallied up big yesterday, but the Wealthy Trades dashboard would have got you into the correct sector to make money on the downside. That's the power of the Wealthy Trades dashboard. It's huge. In a big rally market, we still picked the right sector to go into to short. Right? Today is different though. The reason why today is different is because the trend quality is below 50%. So therefore, we can't just go and short the best sector, which is the energy sector for today. We can't just go and short it because the quality is not that good. So we got to pair this up. We got to do a hedge trade, right? And this is how we're going to do it. All 9 sectors are in a downtrend. That means we got to go short if we're going to do a pairs trade because the quality is below 50%. We got to go short the best sector, which is indicated by the biggest box in the sector performance. We got to go long the worst sector, which is it's automatically filtered by the quality score. And the XLF is the sector with the worst quality score, meaning it's the best stock to go long in this environment. So we're going to look at long XLE or energy sector or energy stocks. I'm sorry, short energy sector and energy stocks, and long financial sector financial stocks. So let's dive into that. All right, so recap yesterday. We don't have any major news coming out today, so we don't have any huge things we need to watch out for. Again, the futures are selling off. If you're listening on podcast or YouTube, this information is old. You don't get this until the afternoon. If you want to have live information or actionable items that you can take part in each day, then you can go to wealthytrades.com and subscribe and get this information before the market opens so you can actually act on it. So let's dive into today. All right, so let's go to the XLE. Clicked on that. Let's look at the levels to win data on the XLE and figure out what the game plan is. Alright, so the XLE, what we can see is it has an expected downside of $75.64. That's its trend side because it's in a downtrend. It's got an expected high of $76.82. So again, the low is 74.60 or 75.64. The high is 76.82. It's got a 48.1% probability of hitting that downside low. So as we can see, the XLE does have a tendency on Tuesdays, because it's Tuesday, to continue on the trend side, which is good. And we can go into the Wealthy Trades chart and see, okay, yep, we do have some overhead resistance at that expected high, and technically it looks pretty good. Not only that, but we can drill a little deeper. All right, we can say, because we got to figure out where are we going to pinpoint our entries. If we're going to go short in the energy sector, we got to figure out, well, where are we actually going to enter? That's important to figure out. There's a couple places we can enter in the energy sector. And I'm going to use the levels to win data to make that decision. So we know the expected high and the expected low. We know that it has a tendency to drift down or hit the expected low on a higher basis than the expected high in a downtrend. What we also want to see is we want to see a narrow spread on the HPP and the levels to win percentage. That tells me that when it hits this level, it has a tendency to continue to go and close below that level. And then we want to see a wider spread, if we can, compared to the HPP and the levels on the counter trend side, because what I want to see is when it hits this counter trend side, I want to see that it hits it and then it sells off. So when it hits this upside level in this downtrend, it actually has a tendency of closing above that level, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not the greatest thing. Okay, so potentially taking a stop at that level, that 76.82, is the way to go, because again, more often than not, when it hits that level, it continues to close higher. So we might want to take a stop there. There's two obvious areas that we can short right at the open. All right, because we're in a downtrend, and the energy sector is the best sector to short in this downtrend for this Tuesday. And we can also short at the trend side, which is 75.64. And the reason we can short there is because it has a pretty high tendency of hitting that level. Has a good tendency, once it does hit that level, it typically closes below that level, so that's great, and it's profitable. So there's two entries on the XLE, one right at the open, and the second entry, and I actually like this entry because it's yesterday's low was 76.23, so if it does hit that downside of 75.64, it is below yesterday's low, which I like. So again, short at the open or short at 75.64 within the energy sector. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the energy stocks, and I'm going to hit the plus symbol next to each of the 8 stocks. Oops. Move those over into my portfolio, and we're going to drill into those individual stocks to find out which stocks within the energy sector give us the best opportunities to potentially short in. And then we'll pair that up, because the quality is not that great. We'll pair that up with a long position in the financial sectors. So let's go into the energy stocks, and the first thing I'm going to do, if you remember, is from past videos, is I want to see a levels to win profit. All right, I want it to be profitable. This is one of my first filtering tools. It's not my only filtering tool, but one of my first filtering tools. I want to see a levels to win profit on both the trend and the counter trend side. So APA is good. NEE, as you can see, it loses money on the trend side, so I'm going to get rid of that one. PSX loses money on both sides, so that's really not a good one. Trav loses money on one side. I'm just looking right here. TSO loses money on one side. WMB loses money on one side. MHFI I think some of these are the financial sectors. I was doing some stuff in the financial sectors. EQT, I believe, is financial stock. So DO, this is an energy stock, makes money on both sides, so that's good. CNX, get rid of that one. And APA. I did this earlier, so I do know that these two stocks, APA and DO, are the best stocks within the energy sector to short. So I'm going to move the XLE itself into my portfolio also, so we can kind of recap here. So what we're going to do is short within the energy sector. You can short the XLE itself right at the open, or you can short at 75.64. Maybe a good idea to put a stop at 76.82. All right, so we want to short that. The best stocks within the energy sector look to be APA. All right, APA looks really good. It has a pretty high tendency of hitting the downside, which the downside is 60.51, upside is 62.31. When it hits the downside, it continues to go. More than 50% of the time, it closes below that, so that's good because that's indicated by the tight spread here between the HPP and the levels on levels. Oops. A second here. Sorry about that. And then it has a tendency, as I can see, it makes money at that level. It's also a very profitable level at the counter trend side too, because it has a wide spread. So when it hits this 62.31, it hits it and typically sells off widespread and makes a lot of money. So this is actually, APA is actually a really good one. So let's drill into this and look at this more at a in-depth level, and I do like that we have some overhead resistance. That's good. APA is a great shorting opportunity at the open, at the trend side 60.51, or the counter trend side 62.31. XLE, as you remember, is a good shorting opportunity at the open or at the downside low, with potentially a stop at 62.82, which is the upside. DO is a good shorting opportunity more often than not when it hits the trend side, which is 27.42. That's the expected downside trend side low. It hits that on a pretty high basis. In fact, it hits that 46.2% of the time, and it only hits the counter trend side 26.9% of the time. So that's good. And when it hits that, it has a tendency to close below that, and it's profitable. But then also shorting at the upside is good too. So again, DO, 3 entries there. You can short at the open, short at the 27.42, or short at 28.88. Give this room to run and stay short all day long. Would be my play in that one. The only one that I would potentially have a stop in would be the XLE itself. I do like that we have some overhead resistance. Would be the XLE itself, and I'd potentially put a stop at the expected high. So in the energy sector, those are the 3 shorting opportunities, but we want to hedge that, all right, with a long, because the trend quality is below 50%. So we got to hedge this, all right? We're going to hedge that and look at the financial sectors, because the financial sector, even though it's in a downtrend, is the worst sector in this downtrend. So therefore, we're going to look at the financial sector. So I'm going to move the XLF itself over to my portfolio, and then the 8 stocks, and we'll drill into each one of these and find the best opportunities to hedge against those short opportunities that we're going to do in the XLE. So, all right, so let's look at the XLF. Get a game plan for the XLF. All right, so the XLF has an expected. It's in a downtrend, so we want to look at these kind of in an opposite way. The counter trend side is what we want to kind of focus on, because remember, going long. So the counter trend side is 24.46, because this is a hedge trade. 24.46. It hits that 55.8% of the time, so that's really good. Okay, so that's great. So it hits the counter trend side more often than it hits the trend side in this downtrend. So going long the XLF at the open is a good thing. Now, I don't love the fact that this trend side. I don't love the fact that it hits this 24.22 and continues to go. So using that going long the XLF and using 24.22 as a stop may be the way to go. Now, probably not going to do that, personally, because I am using it as a hedge trade. So I'll probably just get in these trades and let them go, knowing that if the XLF hits this 24.22, yes, historically it's a decent time to get out, but I'm hedged by being short in the XLE, so I don't have to worry all that much. Again, I'll recap all this in a minute. Must say, once again, if you're listening on YouTube or podcast, you can get this information so you can actually make these decisions, actionable decisions, every day, um, before the market actually opens. You're getting this in the afternoon. Subscribers at wealthytrades.com get this information in the morning so they can actually act on this. All right, so let's look at some of the stocks within the financial sectors. All right, so let's look at EQR. EQR has a, it's not as good as the XLF itself because it hits the trend side much more often than it hits the counter trend side. So I'm going to get rid of EQR. I'm just looking for the best stocks, right, within the financial sector. NQ, again, trend side much higher than the counter trend side. Travelers Insurance, same thing. The XLF might be the best hedging vehicle itself, just to keep it real simple in this. Same thing there. Again, I'm just filtering this down. Same thing. Alright, same thing. So just filtering this down to figure out what, because we want to hedge with something in the financial sector, what is the best one to hedge with. And I'm kind of using this as a quick gauge. I'm looking at the HPP of the trend side compared to the counter trend side to make that decision. It looks like it's going to be the XLF because the XLF hits the downside more often than it hits, or I'm sorry, hits the upside, even when it's in a downtrend more often than it hits the downside. So, all right, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So here's the game plan. Let's simplify this and recap real fast. We are in a downtrend, pretty aggressive downtrend. 72.7% of the stocks moving down in the S&P 500 for today, Tuesday, March 10th. The quality, though, is not that great. So we want to go short in the best sector, all right, which is the XLE, but we want to hedge that. So the way we're going to hedge that is we're going to go long in the XLF. So there's three opportunities where we can go short in the XLE. We can go, or the energy sector. We can go short the XLE right at the open, or we can go short the XLE at when it hits the trend side. Let's say we don't get in right at the open, or it gaps down. That's fine because getting in the XLE short is very profitable. So basically, get in the XLE right at the open. It's probably going to gap down. That's fine. Short the XLE at the open. At the same time, go long the XLF at the open. All right, hedge that all day long. So you want to go long the XLE at the open, short the XL. I'm sorry, short the XLE at the open, long the XLF at the open. If you wanted to go into stocks and tie this up in stocks a little more, then you can go short the APA, short APA at the open, long XLF, or you can go short DO at the open, long XLF. To keep it as simple as possible, just do the sector strategy. Go short the XLE right at the open, hold it all day long, close it right before the close, and go long the XLF, hold it all day long, close it right before the close. That is the game plan for today. For this week, I'm going to real quick tell you what the game plan was for this week, and I'll recap this more on Friday, but we are in an uptrend. The quality is below 50%, so we were going long this week. We want to go long healthcare sector, right, the XLV, and we can drill into the 8 best stocks within that, and we want to go short the XLE. As you guys know, the energy sector is getting beat up pretty substantially. So again, this week we want to go long healthcare sector and healthcare stocks, and short energy sector and energy stocks. That is game plan for this week. And for this month, for March, we've been long the healthcare sector all month long. The quality this month is good. That'll probably change next month, but for this month we want to be long healthcare sector and healthcare stocks. Thank you for listening, and again, if you're listening to this in the afternoon on podcast or YouTube, then go to wealthytrades.com. Get this information in the morning so you can use these tools to make actionable items. Do these trades and use this information to outperform the market and make more money every day, week, or month. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.